Guys, going into 2025, I was looking at the Chinese New Year calendar because I'd heard rumors out there, seeing the AP preseason polls and stuff like that, that people were saying that this might be the year of the Tigers. And by Tigers, I mean the Auburn Tigers. And guys, I'm here to tell you that those people haven't looked at a Chinese lunar calendar because it is clearly not the year of the Tigers in 2025. I'm going to go ahead and tell you Hugh Freeze is done by the end of 2025. He will not be the coach at Auburn. I'm sorry, you've had two terrible underperforming seasons, and I know you inherited a mess, but the problem I have with believing that Hugh Freeze is going to get a solid footing with the Auburn fan base and alumni and all that stuff at the end of this year is you're in year three, it's make it or break it. You're going to get L's to Georgia, probably going to take an L to Alabama. You got additional tough games within conference play. And you look at last year and you say to yourself, okay, well, we got rid of the quarterback. We were a turnover prone team. We're going to turn that around. And how are we going to turn that around? We're going to go into the draft, or not the draft. Sorry, we're not in the pros. You're going to go into the transfer portal, and you're going to go and pick out one of the leading turnover prone quarterbacks of your conference to fix your turnover prone offense. It's genius. It's immaculate. I think Hugh Freeze is done and gone, and I'm ready to watch him fail in 2025, be out the door, and maybe get a serious coach in there to try and turn Auburn around after the Hugh Freeze experiment is failed and gone.
That's that's pretty tough. But I'm going to say this: I always say that when a new coach comes in, don't panic after year one. Start to sort of panic after year two, and then after year three, if it's the same, you have a legitimate reason to go look elsewhere. And I don't think there should be any different here for Auburn. I'm just going to name off some teams that Hugh Freeze has lost to um, in his tenure there. So in 2 years, 2023 and 2024, right? You lost to Texas A&M, Georgia. Now this is on year one. Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, New Mexico State, Bama, and Maryland. The games that stick out to me, obviously, just from listing those off: New Mexico State, Maryland, and that's really it in year one. Obviously, Alabama, that was the prayer and miracle in Jordan Hare, whatever you want to call it. That was that game, right? So that one was kind of close. Now, last year, by the way, they made a bowl game in year one, right? So take that for what it's worth. He inherited a terrible program, made a bowl game. Last year, you lose to Cal, okay? Arkansas wasn't very good. You almost beat Oklahoma, but Oklahoma wasn't that great. Now, I know that they beat Alabama too, but that doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, to be honest with you. You lost to Vandy, so did Alabama. And then you lost to Alabama. So, and then you went, what, 5-7. So, like, and the offense was atrocious. It wasn't just like an overall record. It was the fact that the offense seemed worse last year than the year before when Hugh Freeze had an entire year to implement what he wanted to do. And yeah, sure, he didn't go out and get the quarterback he really wanted. That's what I think this year is going to be for him. But I didn't see the defense get better. I didn't see the offense get better. All phases of the game, Auburn was just bad in last year. And that is a sign to me of a head coach that's probably not going to work out. Typically, when you have a new coach come in, you see one facet get better year over year. That's not been the case so far.
I think a couple of things with the Hugh Freeze tenure. One is you kind of see the tug back and forth between him calling plays to the offensive coordinator calling plays. That's never a great sign. I I really feel like this next year is the Billy Napier situation from this past year. And I really think Jackson Arnold is Graham Mertz. And Billy Napier had a situation, and I think it was the good Lord himself that pressed down on the Florida Gators this year. And no offense, hurt Graham Mertz so he could not play because Billy Napier was going to ride or die with Mertz, and it was just insane. But finally, Napier had some sort of success because DJ Lagway finally was able to play the game of football on the Florida Gators field, which everybody knew from the year prior. And then everybody's like, okay, Napier's here. He's better. He's good. I think that's what the situation is with Freeze this year. You bring in Arnold, who showed nothing for Oklahoma except for stature, except for, hey, I'm a 5-star that's supposed to be this Jeremy Johnson-esque type of guy who hasn't amounted to anything, whether you can unlock that potential or not. But my thing is, I have a feeling Deuce Knight is going to be a wonderful quarterback. Will that be for Auburn this next year? And that's I think the rifting point is Hugh Freeze is going to have to make that decision at some point. Do you ride Jackson Arnold? Hope your Auburn level defense can keep you toe to toe with some of these teams that you're playing, and that your offense can get better. With Jackson Arnold, I feel like that offense is going to just be very stagnant throughout the year. You also lost the best running back in the SEC by from Jarquez Hunter this past year. You're going to have to replace that production. You have a couple good young wide receivers. However, they're kind of restless because you're not getting them the ball. You're not doing things right. Arnold doesn't fix that situation at all for young receivers. Will not be able to get them the ball. He was benched several times over the last year for different quarterbacks at Oklahoma. Like there's a reason he was benched, and so I think it's going to be round 6, game 6 or 7. Do you start Deuce Knight or do you continue to start Arnold? If he starts Arnold, I do think Hugh Freeze is going to be gone. I'm more of a guy that gives definitely a high stature coach like Freeze was when he got hired. I try and give him 4 years. You get your own recruiting cycle all the way through. You get your guys all the way through. Your offense is implemented. Hopefully, you found your offensive defensive coordinator by that point, that you want to stick with. And so I try not to really. I give a short leash to guys that have never been head coaches before, never shown success. There's just not a huge identity around Auburn football, and Auburn football has always been the bread and butter of we're going to play really stout defense, we're going to have a really good run game, and probably 2 or 3 really good running backs. You had one good running back last year. You decided not to use him a whole lot until near the halfway point of the year. As much as you should have at least. And then your defense is subpar in an SEC field where you need to have a really good defense. So I think Hugh Freeze is, if he hangs onto the belt loop of Arnold, the 5-star, I think he's gone midway through the season. I think if he starts Deuce Knight, let him work through some problems, and they end with a 7-8 win season, I think he sticks around. I'm a big fan of Hugh Freeze and the offense that he can have. He just hasn't showed that yet.
I want to give
go for it.
Just real quick. I want to give a little bit of praise, I guess, in something that Auburn seems to have done better of last year. Of their 7 losses, 6 of them came in 2 scores or less ball games. 4 of them was 1 score or less. So when you talk about being competitive, right, there was 6 of those games that are 2 scores of less, 4 of which was 1 score, and then another 2 of them were 10 points. So really only 1 blowout, and that was against Georgia, if you really want to look at it that way. So I guess you could say they were a little bit more competitive, but when it comes to what you see on the field, I didn't see a whole heck of a lot on the field that gave me much hope moving forward. They also play Baylor this upcoming year, which that could be an interesting game.
Yeah, I just have to say thank you to Chase for making my point for me that Hugh Freeze will be gone by the end of 2025, because at best you can hope that you'll have a Florida situation where average is the best you can achieve. So I think that'll be the end of things for Hugh Freeze and Auburn here in 2025. But guys, let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Let us know if you think Hugh Freeze is going to be around at the end of 2025. I've been Quinn, joined by Freddie and Chase. We're 3 bold takes, and we're out.